we're going to go ahead and begin this press conference. Good morning. My name is Alan Wilson. I have the distinct pleasure and the privilege of serving as South Carolina's Attorney General. And one of my most favorite things that I do every year is I get to announce the grant funds that are coming from four collective sources that are coming through our office, as well as from appropriations from the General Assembly, that will be distributed out to various victim services providers throughout the Midlands area. And I can't be happier to do this because the organizations that working 365, 24/7 are out there providing services to victims and survivors of crime, and they are often overlooked and people don't think about them. And the reason that we're doing this is to showcase the amazing work that the men and women who are standing up here today representing these various organizations, the services that they bring to victims throughout all of South Carolina, but in particular the 11 counties in the Midlands that are represented here today. Before we go into announcing what those grant awards will be and what that money will be going to serve and support, I would like to just give a shout out and recognize all of the individuals who are here today and the organizations that they represent. So we'll start first. I want to start with our legislators. One thing you need to know is every year over the last 6 or 7 years, we have seen a precipitous drop in the amount of federal grant monies coming in. Every year for the last 6 years, I've gone to the legislature to ask for them to help make up some of the gap. They can't make it all up, but to make up some of the gap so that none of these victim services providers will ever have to shutter their doors, because once the doors close, once the people move on, it is very difficult to bring these services back to the community. And so that's why I always like to have our legislators who are able to be here today. The people who are here today are ones that every time I go to them for law enforcement and for victims, they always say yes. They are always there. So I want to thank the individuals who were here today. Senator Alan Blackman, who is standing right here to my right. Every time I've called him, he is there. Representative, my hometown House member, my personal representative, Paula Calhoun, who I've known for over 20 plus years, and she has been a fierce advocate for victims and for law enforcement. Representative Chris Wooten could not be here today, but he, among others in our community, have always been there to ask to help us get these monies so that these victim services providers can stay open. We have a number of law enforcement leaders here today. Representing Richland County Sheriff's Department, Deputy Chief Chris Lindler on behalf of Sheriff Leon Lott. We also have immediately to my right my hometown County Sheriff Jay Kuhn. Sheriff Kuhn, thank you for the leadership you bring to this community. And also I serve on a number of statewide boards and commissions with him, and he is a renowned, recognized law enforcement leader. Sheriff Jody Rowland from Edgefield is with us today. Jody, Sheriff Rowland, in the very, very back. Thank you for being here, Sheriff. We appreciate you very much. Chief Skip Holbrook, Chief of Police for the Columbia Police Department, and Chief Bruce Wade, Casey Police Department. Thank you both for being here. It means a lot to see our leadership here today. Agency representatives including from Able, South Carolina, Mary Reeves, Care House of the PD, Alice Curry Gallego. We have Casey Police Department representatives, Lieutenant Eddie West and Katie Fonte. Child Advocacy Center of Aiken, Amber Allen, Fatima Thompson. City of Casey, Stephen Gaither. Columbia Police Department, Sergeant James Fisher and Jennifer Timmons representing them. Dickerson Children's Advocacy Center, Flavia West, Edgefield County Sheriff's Office, also representing Andrea Totino. Nancy Powell is representing Solicitor Rick Hubbard from the 11th Judicial Solicitor's Office. Epworth Children's Home is represented by Karen Addy. 5th Judicial Circuit Solicitor's Office is represented by Aaliyah Scott, Jacqueline Smith, Hans Pauling, and Japhet Paramo. 4th Judicial Circuit Solicitor's Office is represented by Charlotte Watson. Lancaster County Sheriff's Department is represented by Jessica Harvey. Lexington County Sheriff's Department, in addition to Sheriff Kuhn, we have Captain Jesse Lantz, John Hatchell, Sergeant Day Forgione, Yesenia Gonzalez Martinez, and Steve Gamble. Representing MAD, and you will hear from him momentarily, is Stephen Burrett. McLeod Health, Cheryl Nooner, Lauren Moose, Shannon Scott, and Weston Nunn. Pathways to Healing is represented by Rebecca Lorick. Richland County CASA Services, Missy Bowman Anderson. Richland County Sheriff's Department is also has here today Investigator Navid Nevis and Investigator Gabriel Ramos. Now, from my office, And again, I can't emphasize enough how incredibly grateful I am to have the men and women working in our office that are here today. And I could not do my job if they weren't so good at doing their jobs. And I want to thank them. That's Matthew Benfield, Monique Garvin, Ashley Glivens, Faye Parks, Gerline Pierre, B.J. Nelson, our leader over Crime Victim Services, our Deputy Director, Joe Corey, Billy House, Ginger Dukes, Kelly Anderson, Kim Buckley, Laura Barnes, Steve Yarborough, Angela Meadows, and Tabitha Heck. I want to give them all a special shout out and let them know from the bottom of my heart how much I appreciate what they do. Representing SCAD VASA, my friend Sarah Barber is here today. South Carolina Department of Children's Advocacy is represented by Ladara Depew, Leela Allen Barnes. South Carolina Network of Children's Advocacy Centers is represented by Aaliyah Simon, Kristen Dixon, and Tom Knapp. SC Van is represented today. Everyone knows this person. I don't need to say her name for you to know her, but it's Laura Hudson, who is here, and also my good friend Burke Fitzpatrick, Melissa Walker, Nicole Goodwin. The Hive Community Circle is represented by Ashley Olienka, and West Columbia Police Department is represented by Matt, I'll make sure I say this right, Matt Dees and Ronald Fair. YWCA, the Upper Lowlands, is represented by Cleartis McDonald Amaker. It took me a while to get through that, but that's a good problem to have, that we have so many people, and this isn't even all of them. This is just the ones who were able to be here today. Our solicitors weren't able to be here. We have other electeds, other agencies that aren't represented here today, but that doesn't mean they're not out there doing the Lord's work. I want to thank the City of West Columbia for allowing us to use their facility for today's press conference. They've done this every year, and we're incredibly grateful for them. Again, I want to welcome everyone here, and this is the good part. This is the thing that I really enjoy most. This year, I am announcing that we are going to be dispersing statewide roughly $26 million to agencies around the state of South Carolina who serve victims of crime throughout the region and throughout the state. These folks provide local and statewide services. They're receiving in this area of the state alone, of that $26 million, in the 11 counties that are represented here today, $10.6 million are going to these service providers, both governmental and non-governmental alike. $10.6 million just to these communities. The grants are distributed by the Department of Crime Victims Assistant Grants under the Crime Victim Services Division under the Attorney General's Office. This department administers 4 grant programs. Now, that $26 million comes from 4 grant sources. 2 of those grant sources are federal, 2 are state. The first 2 that are the federal is the vast majority. It comprises 88% of that $26 million come from 2 sources. Victims of Crime Act, known as VOCA, and Violence Against Women Act funds, known as VAWA. VOCA comprises 78% and VAWA 10% for 88% of that total $26 million. There are 2 state sources of grant funds. State Victim Assistance Program, known as SVAP, comprises about 3%, and 9% comes from what's called the Supplemental Allocation for Victims Services, or we say SAVES for short. The SAVES program is where I go to the legislature every year when there's been a gap. Now, just to give you some context over what has occurred over the last 7 or 8 years, from approximately 2018 to 2024, the VOCA grant money, which, as I said, is 78% of our funds, has dropped precipitously by 76%. That was due, obviously, to a number of factors, but the funding formula that determines how that money is given out had to be tweaked, and we've been waiting for several years for that money to go back up. But in 2017, we were at $51 million. Last year, that VOCA grant dropped to $12 million. So it's a 76% drop in the amount of money going. So I had to go to the legislature, and many of the people up here went with me to the legislature to ask them to step in and provide some type of stopgap that would allow funds, some more funds, to go and to be able to get to these doors and keep them open. So that is why it is so important that we are seeing the turnaround in the grant funding. And again, last year we were at $12 million. This year we're just over $20 million. Is that correct, BJ?
Yes, sir.
So yes, so VOCA is back up to just over $20 million, up about $8 million from last year, and we expect and hope that that trend will continue to go up. If it doesn't, we'll certainly be coming back to our our friends in the legislature. The funds go toward projects that serve victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, human trafficking, and more. Agents awarded these grants are like law enforcement agencies, prosecution agencies like Solicitor's Office, state agencies, and nonprofit organizations. They provide services that include victim advocacy, including outreach and services to underserved crime victims, emergency shelters for transitional housing for victims of domestic violence and human trafficking and other types of crimes, residential shelters for children. We also fund forensic interviews for children and adults with disabilities who are victims of crime. We also, these funds go to fund forensic nurse examiners for children and adults, to fund nurse examiners who provide rape kits and sexual assault examinations literally in the moments and hours after a sexual assault occurs. These forensic nurse examiners are so important to prosecution and to bringing these cases. These funds also go to evidence-based therapies for victims so they can move from trauma and victimization to being survivors. That funds special law enforcement investigators. Special prosecution teams are also funded. We also fund attorneys, legal services to victims of crime who need various types of legal services like orders of protection and among others. Again, I thanked them earlier and I mentioned them earlier, but I do want to thank the office, the Attorney General office staff and Director B.J. Nelson, Joe Corey, Angela Meadows, Billy House, Bonnie Brooks, Sheila Hoffman, Steve Yarborough, Tabitha Heck, who are in the Crime Victim Services Division. They're the ones that make all of this happen, the 364 days leading up to now, and I want to thank them very much. Now I get to introduce our speaker today, Stephen Burritt. He is the Regional Executive Director of Mothers Against Drunk Driving here in South Carolina, North Carolina, and Tennessee. Stephen has served as Executive Director of MAD in South Carolina since 2018. Prior to taking on the Executive Director role, he served 5 years as the agency's Program Director. During his time with MAD SC, the staff has grown from 2 to 10, along with increased mission activity in victim services, court monitoring, underage drinking programs, and law enforcement support. Stephen also currently serves as the chair of the South Carolina Impaired Driving Prevention Council. And, of course, most important to me, he is my friend. I would like to ask him to come up here and make a few brief remarks. Stephen.
Thank you. It is my honor to be here, not just representing MAD, but this entire group, this impressive group of people doing amazing work. Mothers Against Drunk Driving is an organization that I believe is obviously very important and far too busy. Sadly, we have the nation's worst death rate for drunk driving per capita in the nation. Second place isn't particularly close, so we have a lot of work to do. And it's our honor to serve victims across the state, whether they're upset because a 3-time drunk driver ran over their mailbox, or the absolute worst nightmare that we all live with is getting that knock on the door to know that a special, important, loved member of our families are never coming home and died in a preventable and tragic way with no preparation and no goodbyes. It's hard work, obviously, but it's important. But I'm reminded whenever one of those crashes occurs how many groups are impacted by every single loss, not just the family. We're all part of so many families: church, school, work, community. But I'm very honored to be a part of this group. This is a group of incredible people. I'm humbled to be here speaking on behalf of them today. A community of like-minded people who just want to do the best for people and help them through what undoubtedly is one of the most challenging times of their lives. We all represent, victims in so many different ways of so many different crimes, but there's 2 things that I find are always, common across any sort of crime victimization. One is that it is incredibly unique. Depending on what happened in the circumstances and who that person were, you need skilled, compassionate people who are going to help them through whatever their journey is. There's no cookie-cutter approach to victim advocacy. And second is that it's incredibly intense. They wouldn't have come to us if this weren't disrupting and affecting their life in significant ways, and they need people there for them. They deserve all of our support and services. And because I have such great advocates on my staff, I get to hear that incredible feedback. You are my lifeline. You are my angel. You are my rock. I don't know how I could have gotten through this without you. So when we hear every year, we get those nervous feelings when we start looking at the overall state of funding and we have that fear that cuts are coming. It's stressful and it's personal. It's not just because we care about our budgets. It's not just because we want to keep our staff, although certainly we do. It's because we know in the future there may not be somebody there for those people that we've served who are going to be in those same situations, and it breaks our heart and it scares us. And so that's why we're so grateful here today to be able to say that we have some stability this year. So General Wilson, I thank you so much. Where'd you go? I thank you so much for your advocacy that today we're not here facing those scariest nightmare scenarios that at one time we thought we were going to. So we will never know all the calls and the meetings and the strategizing and the arm twisting and the begging that you had to do to get us where we are here today, but we're grateful. Thank you for that. And I also am glad to get the opportunity, as you have, to thank your staff. What an incredible, caring, knowledgeable group of people who simply want the best for us and be able to serve victims in the way that we know best. They represent your agency well, they represent South Carolina well, and we're grateful to get to work with them. So on behalf of all the organizations and service organizations here, I just want to say that we're ready. We're ready for the new year to start. We're ready to start serving victims every day like we have been. And we're probably tired and we're stressed out as we always are, but we're ready to serve the next person who needs us. At MAD specifically, that means we'll continue to serve the families of impaired driving crashes, even though there are far too many than there should be. And we'll continue to fight the state to change the state's DUI laws, not with grant money, BJ. So we have fewer victims that will even need our services in the future. But today, we'll just be grateful, be thankful. Today's a good day to be able to say that we're here and we're stable and we have what we need to continue our work. We'll never have everything that we need. But we feel good about where we are, and we're grateful for the advocacy and all the work, including our legislators who made this possible. So we're ready to stand ready to serve the citizens of South Carolina, and we're grateful for the opportunity. Thank you so much for letting me be here.
Appreciate that. One thing that I want to underscore is that it is my firm conviction that public safety is the #1 core function of government. And protecting and serving victims is a core function of public safety. And so that is why we, the people up here, the elected leadership, the law enforcement leadership, and the victims advocates leadership who are here today will always fight for victims. I want to say this: if you are a victim of crime and you are watching this press conference on a broadcast, you need to look around and you need to see that you are not alone. If you find that you are being victimized by the very criminal justice system that was designed to protect you, and it can be a very scary system if you're not ready to navigate it, look up here. There are people up here ready to serve and support you. So you are not alone. Please know that we are here, we are ready, and we are willing to serve and support you. Again, I want to say thank you to everyone who was able to be here today, and thanks to those who were not able to be here today. I am happy to take any questions, but before I take any questions, I would encourage our friends in the media that when we adjourn here in just a minute, grab, obviously you just heard from Stephen, grab some folks that you recognize or that you see and ask them about the services and the organization that they represent, and let's get that out there. We want victims and survivors of crime to know what's out there. They're the stars, so let's highlight them. And before I take questions, I introduce all the important people up here, but one special person I need to at least represent who's not part of this press conference is my #1 fan, is my wife Jennifer. As Henry McMaster say, my favorite wife. So, thank you, honey. Love you. All right. Happy to take any questions. I love it when y'all don't have any. This is great. Okay. With that being said, please talk to some of our leadership up here and showcase what they're doing. Thank you all. This concludes this press conference.